And good morning, guys. So, today I wanted to talk a little bit about why I believe people transition, why I believe people choose to undergo this massive task of altering one's body to navigate life as the opposite sex one was born as. Now, please remember that everything I say here is my opinion. I'm not telling anyone how to think, how to feel, what to do with their life, what not to do with their life. I'm not being transphobic, any kind of phobic, any kind of whatever that you guys who may be triggered by what I say may want to add. You're entitled to your opinion as I'm entitled to mine. That is the biggest problem that we're facing nowadays is people not allowing people to speak their minds, say what they have to say, place their opinions, their views, their life experience, so forth and so on. And people are being canceled, silenced, and told they're wrong for thinking different. So I think that one of the biggest lessons that we could learn from these times is that we have to learn to communicate, grow up, allow other people to think differently from you. So with that out of the way, if you are easily triggered, hurt, or whatever else, which is the common theme of these days too, people who don't have any coping mechanism, people don't have the ability to hear things differently than what they feel or think in their heads, and then they get triggered, defensive, and everything else that goes on in this so-called community. I suggest you switch the channel. These are my views, my opinions, and as a person who has walked this life for many years, I transitioned back in 2003. I have my opinion. I've not only transitioned since 2003, but I detransitioned on several occasions, and these are all things that I had to work through to try to navigate my feelings inside the way that I was shamed growing up for being different, for acting different. From the moment I stepped out of my mother's womb, I was criticized for my mannerisms, for the way I walked, talked, how I looked in a dress. There's how I, conducted myself, the unladylike manner, and all these things. So, again, these are my opinions, my views. I can't emphasize that enough. You don't have to subscribe to them. You could think differently, so forth and so on. And it's pretty sad that I even have to use 3 minutes of the video just to explain that to you. It seems that I've rubbed people the wrong way many times from what I've expressed, what I've thought of, or what I've researched and seen, not only through my behavior, but the behavior of many trans individuals that I've had the pleasure or not the pleasure of coming across. So here we go. There are various reasons, in my opinion, why people transition, why they identify as trans. I don't believe anyone is born in the wrong body. See, there is conditions for that. There are people that are deemed intersexuals or intersexed. There are people who have DSD, which is disorder of sex differences or something like that. They're born with an actual problem biologically. The chromosomes are different than what, their appearance may be. That is not transgender. Transgender is definitely more so to do with thinking, with being unhappy with how one was born, and I believe there's many reasons for that. One of the reasons I believe a lot of people are not happy with the body they were given, and trust me, nothing's wrong with their body. All your gonads work perfectly, everything works, everything's in good working condition. That you may not be happy with it, well then, hey, that's That's another story. A lot of people aren't happy with a lot of things in their life. You know, they don't like their eyes, their nose, their frame, their bodies. They're too little, too fat, too whatever. I mean, we all have something in our bodies that we don't like. Now, when you're growing up, and let's say you have siblings, and your sibling gets treated differently than you, and then a little mind is very extremely what would I say, expressionable, or they're very, any little thing that is done could be this small, will be heightened in your brain because you're very extremely, I can't think of the word right now, expressionable, impressionable. So anything, which might not be anything to somebody else, but this little mind, it's like the whole world just falls apart, right? So if you have a sibling and that sibling is doted upon and loved upon, and they're praised for being a boy or a girl, you know, and if you're a girl, and your sibling's a boy and he got praised for being this wonderful boy, and you're like, well, if I was a boy, then I would be praised too. Well, that right there plants a massive seed in a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old. And this is why we say, well, I knew from such and such age. Well, you forget that something happened during that time. The girls didn't want to play with you. And so you felt like, well, if I was a girl, the girls would want to play with me. So I want to be a girl. You know, so boom, all of a sudden, it like creates this engram in your brain, and it follows you throughout life. And then nowadays, you know, which is so easily acceptable, it's like, well, I was born in the wrong body. I was meant to be a girl because I like to play with dolls, or I like to play with cars if you're born the opposite, or I'm a girl instead of a boy because I walk differently than the boys do. I talk differently. I express differently. See, we all have personalities, right? We all have different personalities. Sex is biological, right? We've got gonads and reproductive organs. That's the only reason there's a difference between men and females, is to reproduce. And that is the reason. I know many of you go, well, not everybody can reproduce. Yeah, those are the exceptions. But the majority of people reproduce. And we're animals. Like animals and bacteria and things like that nature reproduce. And that is our purpose here, to reproduce. So you've got testes, you've got ovaries, you've got the clitoris that will turn into the male phallus if the SRY gene androgenizes the brain, and everything goes as follows. Your brain and your body are not separate, they're the same. So this whole concept that gender's between the ears and sex is between the legs, that's, come on now, we're not two anymore, right? But these are all things that advocates use to promote this agenda. So you're growing up. There's something that happens that makes you feel less than, so you think that if you are the other, you'll be better. And so you create this thing in your head, and it follows you until you transition, until you like literally hurt your body that was perfectly okay and it was working fine, so that you could live out this pain that you've held on to from a very young age. The pain that you were not born the way that you wanted to be born because you can't do what the girls did, and you want to be a girl so you could do what the girls did, or if you were born the other way so you could do what the boys did, what your brothers do, what your father, you admire your father more than you admire your mother because your mother's cold, distant, makes fun of you. Yet your father's kind and gentle, so you want to be a man like your father. Look, I get it. I get it. We all want something so bad that it hurts, that it feels dysphoric. And that's what dysphoria is, wanting something so bad you don't feel right within until you have what you want. This is a 21st century problem, because back in the day when what we really wanted was food because our belly hurt, and we hadn't eaten in 7 days. What you really wanted was a roof over your head so you felt safe, so you wouldn't be eaten by some sort of wild animal. We didn't have gender dysphoria back then because we had real problems. You don't see a lot of this in third world countries where they're starving to death or they're trying not to get blown up by a bomb. We have way too much time in our hands. We have way too much time to think. Look, I get it. I did it, okay? Because all my life I was made fun of for acting differently than the sex that I was born as. I had too much androgen in my body. Medications does that. There's a lot of us out there that our mothers took something while they were pregnant, whether it was to prevent miscarriage or that DES compound that was going around. There are many different things that our mothers did that might have created this. Even the fact that your parent may have wanted a boy and they got a girl, and they expressed this during the entire time that you were being created in the womb, because these things could follow us from a very, very young conception age, even past lives, even. There's so much. Why is it that we refuse to talk about this and instead want to clobber people over the head regarding their opinion, what they believe? Why is it that we're trying to force people to call us a certain name or to use the correct pronouns? If people don't see it, then why should we have to do it? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Why is it? Why is it that we can't just allow each and every person to express what they need to express? Okay, I've been going on for 7 minutes and 43 seconds. I want to dive into this further. And I might even have a live video so you could, provide me with questions. I think it's important for us to realize, why is it that we do this? Why do we do this? Why? Why is it that we feel the need to alter ourselves? It's deeper, because there's no such thing as being born in the wrong body. No one is born wrong. Understand that. All right, guys, I love you, but remember to always love yourselves too and each other. Bye-bye.